Well, it's the same feature as mine.
Hi, everybody. Hey,
Hello.
Kayla. How are you doing again?
Hi.
You are?
I am Karina. I'm
Karina?
the local pastor down the road.
Okay, I'm glad you can make it today. It's nice to meet you. And you?
Megan.
Megan?
In the apartments.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's get started. Does everybody know why we're here today?
Well, I did call you about some concerns I had at the apartment, considering I've been there for 30 years, and since we've had this new landlord, a lot of things have just gone downhill. Maintenance isn't being kept up. Things are falling apart, and the lawn and lawn care and all of that's not being taken good care of. So, I wanted to express that concern.
Okay, so I know her opinion. I just wanted to hear some of your opinions. So maybe you guys could talk more about what you guys feel the problems are and how it's affecting the community.
Well, I haven't lived here for a year yet, so I'm just now experiencing the problems that she's been talking about. I know I hear rats in the roof, and I've expressed my concern with the landlord, but he says they've checked and there's nothing there. And my faucet's leaking, and he's not doing anything about the water that I have to keep cleaning up. So that's where my problem lies.
And my problem lies with the conditions that tenants are living in. Like, the rats have been coming in and eating tenants' foods, and since this is a lower income area, these families can't replace the food that is being taken. So they come to us wanting help, and there have been so many people from these two apartment complexes that are owned apparently by the same owner that it has put the church, because we're trying to do our best to help and provide services to all of these people, but because of such the increase, especially in the last year, it has gotten worse, that we're to the point where if something doesn't change in these two communities, we might have to close our doors, or we have to find more funding.
So it's affecting you guys a lot.
And this is one of the two Baptist churches within those 10 miles. So if we close our doors, there's no religious Baptist feeling in this community, which is what we're concerned about.
And I've talked to a lot of people who've been living in the apartments for a while, and they've talked about wanting to move, but they don't want to break that contract, and they don't want to have to pay him extra just so they can get out of the bad living conditions. So I don't know what we could do. Is there anything we could do about that?
Well, I think you had told me before that the city's been over there and he's not up to code and he just gets fined for it.
Right.
Okay.
And he doesn't do anything.
So he just gets the fine, pays the money, and he just never fixes the problem.
It seems that way. I mean, many people have expressed our concerns to him, and he says that he's going to take care of it, or he comes up with some excuse that it doesn't need to be, like, something doesn't need to be fixed, or, it's just ridiculous.
And whenever actually apartments or houses aren't up to that code, you can actually break the lease. You just have to find a lawyer, and you don't have to pay the fee to break the lease. So I understand that that's an option for some people, but I know that some people, you're probably really used to the community, and you really would just rather stay where you're at. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right.
I know for a lot of people, the apartments is conveniently located to the grocery stores, schools, work, all of that is in the surrounding areas, and some people don't have transportation. So, and part of the reason why some people move to this area, to these apartments, is because of how close things were and how easily they could walk to where they need to go. So,
The apartments are that's the reason why I moved in here in the first place, is because the location and obviously the amount it costs each month to live here is really convenient. So, but then I get here and I realize that because he thinks it is low income, he doesn't take it seriously, so he doesn't see the need for the renovations as soon as possible.
So I know you guys said that you do know that people in the community are having problems reaching him. Do they also feel like if you were to ask them, do they feel like the same problems are showing up with rats and leaky faucets and?
From what I've heard, yeah. And the leaky faucets especially are creating mold problems. And while there are places with the shopping centers, your jobs, bus stops, the one thing that this community is missing especially is a doctor that is affordable and will take Medicaid, Medicare, your passport for your children, and that is missing in this area. So we provide monthly health clinics where people come in and talk about healthy eating and all of that. But because of how much strain has been on the church, we haven't been able to afford that. And I've had many of my parishioners come to me and discuss how they miss that. And I know both of these women have come to church here, and I've seen them at the health clinics, and I don't know if they miss it in particular, because I'm not sure if either of you have children of that age or are in good health right now, but
So what you're saying is that like the strain from the community is causing you to not have the health clinic, and they need the health clinic because also the strain on the community with the mold and rat feces can be a problem as well.
Yeah, there's so much strain, and it's the people living in these apartments need so much help from the community, and the community, especially the church, the two churches in the area, are attempting to do what we can, but it's not enough. We don't have those resources.
Before moving in, I heard some stuff about him, the landlord, and I was like, it can't be true. And I moved in anyways, and he would fix the little things like the light went out, so he'd replace the bulb, or a squeaky door, or something little. But like the big things, like the rats and the leaking, I guess that takes up all his money, is where he has a problem with, where it takes forever. He just doesn't hear our concerns.
I mean, I'm just curious on what we can do to solve this issue, because from an individual's perspective on this and expressing the needs from him, he's not getting our responses. So I feel like maybe we should take a step up and get some outreach from the community and maybe see what we can do from there, like getting courts involved and maybe getting the media involved, so that way.
That's definitely a good idea. Let's talk a little bit about what has already been done. Have you guys tried that stuff in the past, or?
I know personally, I just went up to him and, hey, let's talk, let's fix this out.
So you do know where to see him at?
Yeah.
Like, is he in an office?
There's an office, yeah, and if you can catch him there, it's the best time to talk to him. But a lot of times I've been and nobody's been there to answer the door, so, or call and leave him a voicemail, but he doesn't return the calls. So.
And we've had parishioners come to us frustrated by that, and the fact that even when their lease is up in the appropriate time, they can't get a hold of him to turn in their keys, so they're fined. And they want to fight those fines with the attorneys, but they don't have the resources to. And our community, our parish, has some lawyers in it that have offered to provide services for low income, but again, resources are strapped, it's time.
So they can't.
They have done some pro bono work, especially in this community. And I can speak with them to see what needs to be done in the future, but I'd like to explore other options before we go to our parishioners and say, we need you to give up your livelihood time to do pro bono work for us.
So you guys have had the city come in, and it wasn't really effective, but how did that happen? Was it just a regular check-in, or did somebody make a report? Do you guys know anything about how that went about?
I've heard that people made reports, but I think it was also around the same time it was time for a check-in. Yeah, so that's what made it seem like they were all about checking in on. But I guess I don't know what happened.
I think the biggest problem is, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand how the city, like I said, I contacted you because the prolonged behavior, the landlord has made. Like, he just hasn't done anything. And one thing that I've tried to do, I've also contacted the city, but I don't know if it was enough for me. I know they came out to inspect and all of that stuff, but and it wasn't really taken serious because I don't think a large group of people advocated for that. There was only a couple that tried to reach out to the government, and
So it's lack of organizing the community.
lack of organizing, definitely. And I feel like maybe more people in the apartment area, in the community we should advocate more. All of us, not just a couple, but
That's what I think is a problem, because the outside of the building, you would never think that there's a
Yeah,
problem.
I've been around there and it doesn't even look
Right.
bad.
But and then there's some apartments that some people aren't having problems, so they just think everything's fine. But people like us who have those apartments that have problems that he's not fixing, then that's what makes it not. I don't think people are taking serious, because they're like, oh no, and they're blowing it out of proportion, because we're looking at a pretty apartment complex, and here's some people that have no problems and only have good comments about it all. So maybe that's why he's not taking, or anybody's taking us serious. Maybe we should just start taking pictures and documenting and bringing them in to let them show, hey, no, this is ours. So like she said, all of us who have problems need to get together, meet with them or something to make it a bigger
The
issue.
church could facilitate that. We have the space.
Like a group meeting.
Yes, like a town hall meeting where we can bring in like the landlord and ask questions of him in a non-threatening way to make him more skittish, or from what I've heard from my parishioners, he can be very confrontational.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe it might be hard to get him in a place where he knows that he's gonna be confronted
ambushed
like
that.
that. Right.
And if we can't get him involved, so be it. We can at least invite him, but to at least reach out to the community in the apartment building, not even the apartment buildings, but also out in the surrounding areas. Just try to get open up a a meeting every week at the church, and
we can have flyers. Flyers aren't
and
expensive.
discuss the issues that are going
Something
on.
like a neighborhood association or something like that?
Yeah.
Is that what it would be?
And discuss the issues that are going on and talk about how we can make a change, or what we can do to advocate and make a difference in the apartment.
But I think the big message here, though, is to get him aware of it. Like you said, the media. We need to get his name out there so people can, I don't know, just maybe putting a little negative picture to his, or
Name.
message to his name, right? And maybe he'll finally realize, oh wait, they're gonna destroy my credibility and make me look like a bad person. So I need to get this problem resolved.
That's definitely a good way to go about. Yeah.
Right.
The power struggle between.
Wouldn't painting him completely in a negative way make trying to communicate with him, trying to solve these issues that much more harder? Wouldn't it be better just to say, have an advocate from the Housing Coalition to come in, look at the apartments, and then advocate for us? That way, we're not singling out any specific organization, any specific resident, so we can't retaliate against that.
We can't put his picture in the newspaper and.
That we could do that as a media intervention, but you're
our
saying it would be
place-
too hard to do that?
Well, it might be too hard, because this is going to sound horrible, but I feel like media, especially in this city, doesn't care about the impoverished currently. That they have so many more, how do I put this, more exciting news stories, like the shootings in the neighborhoods. Who's going to want to put in their example?
I think that if we, like, I see your point, but I think that if we did get a large enough group of people and spin it in a certain way with maybe some other interventions mixed in with it, that it would be really strong enough to kind of get the effect that we're looking for.
I think we should just definitely get the word out there somehow into the community and show them that we have a problem here, and bringing in an advocate from the
Housing Coalition.
housing coalition.
I have some friends over there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You do.
And we've had some speakers come to church and talk about housing issues when we've noticed an influx of our parishioners having issues with housing.
So they talk to the staff at the church.
We actually had an event at the church where it was a couple advocates from the Housing Coalition came in and talked to our parishioners. It was like on a Saturday night. I don't know if either of you came because I think you're good here. You might have heard about it because it was like this big carnival event. We also had like health. It was our big carnival event where we had many different advocates of different areas, like your social services, your nonprofit.
Is it that event that's coming up again, like you guys have every year? I heard somebody talking about it.
Yeah, it is actually. It's coming up in, I think, a month and a half.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what it was. So you guys have done that, like maybe last year?
Yeah, we've done it for the past 5 years.
Okay.
Well, I remember somebody brought up something, I think, about a lawyer, so we contact somebody to, what would we do for, like, just to get that process going for a lawyer?
Well, first off, it seems like you guys don't really have the resources to pay someone. I know you're talking about pro bono work. So I'm thinking that we could find somebody in the community. I mean, everybody's bound to know somebody, and maybe even some of the lawyers that you talked about previously.
Yeah, my concern is it's going to snowball into such a big case because so many parties are involved.
Well, that's really
and I think
a good
it's,
thing, though.
It's a good thing because there's going to be a lot of accusations, but I think class action is what it will become. I think that is the term for it. And
class action lawsuit.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of lawyers practice in that, and it's a lot of corporations. So I'm concerned that we might not be able to find a pro bono. Like the people at my parishioners have done with your civil matters, your restraining orders, a couple criminal cases, but nothing of this magnitude. So I'm concerned that we'll be able to find someone to do it without paying them. Because lawyers don't really like doing pro bono work. Because
you don't think they like to do charity?
Like some do, but those that focus on business
I know there's
laws.
some that are required to do a certain amount of pro bono for the state.
Well, I know that we said there might not be enough people to make it like such a big deal. What if we go into the schools that are in this neighborhood and there's kids who live in the apartments and are going to school sick and stuff just because of the living conditions they lived in, so maybe they could take a big part of it and maybe help us get stuff.
Isn't that an invasion of privacy, though?
Going into, like, they wouldn't need to know about which childs or which. They just might already know the apartment complex. I mean, if they're in the community, they're bound to hear about it. And they might feel the same way we do and decide to be a part in it. Yeah. Not necessarily helping the individuals, but partaking in this.
Yeah, partaking in, like, getting it out there. Yeah, not like.
And we definitely have resources. I don't think a lawyer would be a problem with the amount of tenants. Are you guys aware of the other apartment complex that he's owned?
I'm not too familiar with it, but I know I've heard it was nice. So that's why I didn't understand why, if ours is such. We're pretty on the outside, but on the inside, there's most of us.
You think it might be the same?
Yeah. So I don't know. I've never been in it.
From what I've heard, they have some of the same problems, but since it's a newer building, they're less frequent. This apartment complex is the older of the two, so it might just be the fact that maintenance wasn't upkept, and the other building has less problems because of that. They still have the problems. I still hear the mold issues, and it's because the landlord isn't taking care of the properties. That's going to happen to any property when you don't take care of it. That's why a lot of organizations, especially or housing organizations in this area, have strict codes that your landlords have to follow.
I think it would be really beneficial to maybe talk to those
in the other apartments.
It would be nice to talk to those people that live in those apartments and see what their perspective is on the whole situation. And I don't know, I guess interview there, like, I don't know, assess them and see how they feel about the living conditions. Maybe we could do a questionnaire for everyone that lives in.
Are you talking about the ones at Parkview that you live in, or the ones in the second location too?
I think both, and compare
And see what's
and
different.
see what the results are. And bring this up as we're advocating, and as maybe if we do set up these weekly meetings and invite the community to pitch in, of course they probably have connections with other people, and I mean it's an awesome way to network, and if the landlord doesn't want to partake, so be it. We'll just try to.
Eventually, if he does not partake,
we need him to get.
We're gonna have to
understand.
put a negative image to his name. Is all I can think of. Like
It
nobody
sounds-
wants their credibility just smashed like that.
So that's most likely going to be the way we have to go.
Yeah, I think that should be one of the later steps. Let's try all of these, getting the community together, and maybe once we get the community together and say, we're not going to stand for this if you don't.
Well, it sounds like you guys have already done that. I mean, a significant amount of people have contacted the city.
Yes,
and like you were saying before,
not
nobody's going to care much about if they were just having a meeting. You actually have to bring in other people that might actually care, and we could evoke something.
Well, all the reports have been individual people, not multiple voices complaining at once.
But nobody can reach him, as far as what you guys have said.
I don't think there have been a significant amount of people that reached out to the city, and I think it's a requirement for the city to.
Can we get a petition to sign or something? I don't know.
I mean, I just feel like maybe we need more people involved.
Well, were you gonna write a petition to the city?
Just
Or
to
to
anybody,
him?
to anywhere that would just take this into further action just to get it resolved, just to get him to realize, or somebody else give us money. I don't know where his money. I don't know what his money's being spent on to where whatever he's getting, he can't come up there and fix it. Does he not have the right
I've actually
maintenance
found
man?
his personal residence, it's public information, and he actually lives in a very well-off neighborhood. I do know that.
So it's not the fact that he doesn't have enough money to pay the maintenance. Or
I don't think it is.
It's for his own personal.
Because you said yourself you've been doing this for 5 years, and he just pays the fines every year. Is that
rather
what you
than
guys
spending the big bucks, more
To
money
actually
to
get it
How
fixed?
often does he get fined?
That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't it be more reasonable to pay that money he has to fix our stuff so that in the future he doesn't have to keep paying these fines? So
Well, it
I'm
might
not
actually
understanding.
be less expensive to pay the fines than to renovate.
Oh yeah.
Right, and that's not really fair, though.
Right. So that's what our problem is. That's what we're trying to get fixed. It's been long enough, so because I know I'm not gonna stay after my lease is up probably if things don't get taken care of.
And that would definitely be something that you would.
And I would have when referencing people, I'd be like, hey, don't go to this man because he can't keep up with his properties.
But what about the people that are on Section 8 and can't really move out? I mean, you have the opportunity. You might have other places that you might be looking at that's still close. But those people, like you were saying, we definitely need to get those people in here too. I'm sure they feel strongly about it because they can give up their lease, but there's not a lot of available options right now.
I thought about that. True. So I guess that's where the lawyers and stuff would come in to help them out.
What would the lawyers do?
You could actually sue him.
Oh.
If you're living in a.
If you got enough people together,
Plus
you could sue him.
you're
and
living
if you
in
drew
un-
media attention to it.
So how can we get the community involved? I know.
Well, we have.
We were talking about flyers.
And
flyers.
that little carnival
we-
thing.
Yeah,
Should we
we can
go
have
ahead
a
and
booth
write
at the
this
carnival.
Should we go ahead and write this down? Maybe? I don't have
Yeah, let's write it down. That way we keep
It's
our
really
ideas
important for you to
organized,
remember, Kayla.
it. Yeah.
keep our stuff organized, and that way we hold each other accountable, because someone can go out and email it to us, and it's an accountability factor. So we should write out what each task is and who's responsible. So that way we stay accountable. And when it
Task?
Like for the church, it could be getting the booth ready for the information. One person's task could be designing the flyers. And that way we don't let things that we thought we were going to do fall through the cracks. That sound good to everyone?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that would be a really good idea.
Okay.
Right, so the big idea is just to get everybody involved, just to get the word out there, to make it show like we're finally taking that step. We're not gonna sit around and wait any longer.
I think we should get the community involved, and we need to find ways to do it. So like making flyers, and maybe holding a meeting every week at the church about the concerns in the apartment area, and then seeing what ideas the other people may have and going from there.
Yeah, because at first I don't think he understood that this is a big problem. Like he's the problem. So and we need to fix it. And either can he get fired? Can somebody else take his place?
Not really, but they could force him to close down the apartments and
then
not
that would
treat it
be-
as a business anymore.
Really? Nobody could just come in and fill his place and take over and let us stay?
So our main enemy that we're facing is the landlord.
Yes, and the reason why I do say that is because it seems like you guys have tried a lot of other things. I mean, you've tried getting the community involved. You guys said you never even went to the meeting. You've tried doing that before. And then you've tried calling the state, and he's gotten fined. But he's just not caring. It seems like he's not interested, and that not a lot is going to interest
And
him.
that's where the newspaper with his big old picture.
I think if we did
And the
find
media.
somebody in the community, this would all need to be run by everybody else. But if we did find somebody in the community that was a lawyer, had a friend that was a lawyer, that was looking to do some pro bono work, then they could step in and help us with that. And the ideal is probably to get him to buckle underneath of it. Say, I can't handle this, I can't believe everybody's suing me, and just fix it. Because that's the main problem here. But if he doesn't, then we could bring in the media intervention and put a bad rep to his name. Do you guys think that would be something that would... I know, Karina, you're having trouble with it because you think that there might be another way to go. Could you elaborate?
Well, I think we need to take steps before just blasting him. Because think of it this way. If we just straight out blast him, we're just going to look like a whiny bunch of kids.
Yeah.
But if we take reasonable steps that the community beyond the residents sees, then they're more likely to support us against this enemy and this problem compared to, oh, it's just a bunch of whiny tenants complaining that
I guess it would be appropriate to take the safe way out of it rather than looking like a bunch of brats.
So
trying
you
to get what they
suggest,
want.
though, that we get the entire community together, and then what?
and then try to talk to him. If he refuses to talk to us, then bring in the media. That way we can
Okay.
show that we have
I've tried.
That's
we have
actually,
tried.
That could definitely
And there
be
is
worse,
record
yes.
of it compared to just a couple complaints
Suing
from
him.
tenants.
And we could bring that
Maybe.
information with us and record anything that he has to say about it, and we could use that as evidence.
And I think we should definitely encourage him to go to those weekly meetings,
Yeah, if he wants to keep his job.
to the community meetings.
Do you think that would help, or do you think that, like you guys were saying, he would just see it as a whiny bunch of tenants?
Well, eventually, if enough people get involved, which is what we're doing right now, we're trying to get the community organized against him. Eventually, you can ignore a couple voices. Eventually, if enough people, you can't ignore the noise, and you have to address it.
I know from his track record, though, it might not be, like, it might work. It possibly can, but I don't think it would be the exact thing we're looking for. So I think if we do it, then we do have to keep open for the other stuff, like getting a lawyer that you were talking about.
or have the lawyer in this meeting and see if there's some way that the lawyer can.
Yeah, but it's the
Force
point.
him
Is he gonna show up?
Yeah.
That's the main dilemma. Is he gonna show up? Is he just gonna close?
So are we going to invite him and then?
If he doesn't show up, that's gonna.
But if
look
he's
really
not gonna
badly.
respond to what we have to say,
It's
how do we
showing
know he's
that
gonna respond to?
if he doesn't show up, it's obvious that based on his actions, he could care less.
So we're gonna have to send
So I mean,
emails, phone calls, and show up personally just to invite him, just to make sure. Because if we call, he'd say, "Oh, I never got it." If we send an email,
Yeah.
never got it.
You
No,
can track it. Yeah.
you need
Yeah.
to make sure you personally tell him, or however, just to make sure that he's like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna go.
especially if you do emails, there's the timestamp on it, so you could say, I wrote this, he hasn't responded, and keep it in like a binder, or keep the call logs to him, or keep the reminders, keep the invitations, just put them all in like the binder, so that when and if we have to bring a lawyer in, we can say, this is all of our attempts we made as a community to get a hold of him to address this issue. He is not responding to anything we have tried.
So do you guys think that other people in the community would feel the same way? Like if they were sitting here right now, do you think they'd be all on board for the
Right.
things that we've talked about?
I do. If they're experiencing what we have, then definitely. But like I said, the people who haven't faced any problems, they just think everything's fine. So.
The business owners in the community are getting especially annoyed with the residents here because the facilities are so poor that residents are forced to steal from the local convenience stores, from the Walmarts.
And didn't you tell me it was attracting homeless people, like the vacant apartments?
yeah, I've noticed that the vacant apartments have been used like, I've noticed some homeless people. The doors are unlocked, and
So that's probably
I've
as
noticed
well
that
with the
a few
stores.
homeless people have stayed there, and I even expressed this concern to the landlord, and he said he checked and there was no one there, but it was so obvious that someone was there. I actually saw a couple of people going into these vacant homes, and shockingly, like, the most shocking part is I have seen, after he said all of that to me, I continue to see people walk in vacant homes, and
Probably letting them stay there for cheap.
I don't know if he's allowing it, or if he doesn't care, and
Or he doesn't want to deal with the
he
damage.
doesn't want to deal with it. Like, how can a landlord not care about the property? And
It's his business. He can
It
do
could
it's
possibly
his
be
business.
Pocket all that money, trying to save up, and then just let them go. So I just think we really need to figure it out. So
I know he can get into a lot of trouble. I don't understand how he's getting away with all of this, and I think that's why it's crucial for everyone else in the apartment complex to advocate, and that's why I think we need to reach out more into the community and get people to talk about their concerns and get attention.
How much time do we have left?
So what's the final plan? So what are we going to do from here? From the next,
I think the first step would definitely be to contact the community and maybe have them come into another
Okay.
meeting like this.
so should I go ahead and make the flyers, and then a couple of us can distribute them?
Yeah, and we can have, I would say make the first meeting after the community fair at the church. That way,
People have enough time.
yeah, we have enough time to develop the flyer. We have enough time to
Spread the
distribute
word.
it. And the church has enough time to get the table space for the information and to express that this meeting is going to take place.
And who wants to be in charge of contacting the landlord, trying to contact the landlord?
I think we all should be.
Yeah.
I think
So
everybody.
everybody
yeah,
send an
all of
email
us.
and invite them.
Email, call, whatever.
Okay.
See him on the streets, let him know.
Good.
We definitely need to get more people in this meeting.
I'm on it with the flyers.
and I will contact advocates especially with the home.
And I'll contact my friends as well, yeah.
The more people we get involved. And then the media is already at the fair, so we can.
The meeting for
The
media.
The media is already going to be at the
okay.
church
They cover
fair.
it every year?
So we
Yeah,
can
they
let
cover
them
it
know
every
what we're
year.
gonna
And that
do.
hasn't worked before, they just...
Well, we haven't had a specific booth for the problem. The media, especially here, just sees this, this church is giving information and giving care to lower income. But if we can spin it a specific way to show this is why a lot of these people are struggling right now, then it might, since they're already there, it might be beneficial.
Okay.
And I can look into that specifically since I'm on the board that works with the organization of the fair.
Do you know if it's okay if we meet here next week, or...
The church is open.
Okay. Alright then.
Okay.
And I'll see you guys next week at the same time.
See you next week.
Alright,
It's nice seeing you, Kayla.
Nice to see you.
Nice meeting you, Karina. Nice meeting you, Megan. Thank you guys for all your help.
Thank you.